I'm so grateful for our professors, our educational institutions that have committed to hospitality as like a degree. And I think that that's so important for us culturally. Like, this is not like a back of house career. Like, this is some place where you can really build an extraordinary, prolific career and experience so many different types of this industry.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Going in. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Welcome in. We're here for another episode. We've got Mandy. I was gonna say Amandi.
Amandi. Jazz hands,
Mandy.
Amandi. I like that's like our
Amandi.
mashup name, Amani. I
There you
like
go.
that.
Yeah, just like Benifer.
Mhm.
Um, so we're here for another episode. How was your weekend, Mandy? What's new?
Amani, I'm still in Renovation Nation. We picked out our appliances this weekend and I was worried about the tariffs and luckily the prices didn't jump up as much as I thought they would. So it was awesome.
Good.
And actually, I think we might be a little under budget. It's still it's much more expensive to buy appliances today than it was 9 years ago when we first bought the house.
Yeah.
So, but it's great, and we're getting everything that we want. And yeah, so we've picked our appliances, windows, countertops, cabinets, flooring. I mean, we're well on our way now. We move out next month and we start demo and
Wow.
Scooter picked his blue. He picked his Mount Etna. That's his cabinet color of choice.
Okay. Yeah.
He was really working through all those colors, and he picked it, and he's happy with it, which is great. So yeah, we're it was all about the renovation this weekend.
Okay. And what's
What
the
about you?
timetable? What's the timetable for it to be complete?
I don't know. It's supposed to be he 4 to 6 months. I hear 7 months. I don't know. We're only removing one wall.
Okay.
So, I don't think it's gonna be that much, but, we don't know what'll happen when we open the walls. We don't know
Yeah.
what the electrical, we don't know what the plumbing. So we're just, we rented the place we're living in month to month. Luckily, the landlord is a developer and an architect, so he gets this and knows that we might end early, we might extend. So we've got a good situation with our dwelling. Yeah. So not next show or the show. Well, the next two shows, I will be in Ohio. I'll be in that weird little bedroom up in my mom and
Yeah.
dad's room that I
Yeah.
broadcasted from.
Studio C, studio our
Studios, yeah.
Midwest studio, our
Our
Midwest studio.
Midwest studio, that's right,
Yes,
and then
yes.
after that, I'll be in the new place, so I'm the lady on the
Okay.
move with our show these next 6 months, yeah.
Love it, love it.
What
Congrats.
about you, Amani? Can we talk about the sweatshirt that you have on right now? And for the listeners, Amani is wearing a mixtape, which brings my heart so much joy, but I feel like there's a story behind this sweatshirt.
Well, it's 90s R&B, which is one of
Okay.
my favorite decades and eras of R&B, and it's like a mixtape. And it's just a cool sweater or sweatshirt, and I love to rock it. And it just brings back great memories of the mixtape era. I should go
Mhm.
find some of my mixtapes. I'll go find some. And yeah, yeah, that's what I'm wearing today.
I love it. Can you talk about you did another book launch this weekend. Can we speaking of your 90s R&B, your book that's
Yes.
out right now. Can you talk about your book launch you did this weekend?
Right. So I had
One
a,
of
a book
many.
launch event here in Las Vegas. Special shout out to Melissa Majors, great friend and former guest Courtney Stanley, great friend and former guest of the show. They came into town from Dallas and Detroit respectively to help me kind of throw the event, cooking and getting ready to host people. So that was this past Saturday. It was a lot of fun. And just bit by bit spreading the word about the book. I have 2 author talks at Cal State University Fullerton this week. Yes, this week, Tuesday and Wednesday. So it just continues. The tour continues.
I love that. USA Today bestseller. Amani,
Yeah.
share your book name again. Share the
Uh,
book title. Let's keep
yes, the
promoting
book
it.
title, The Quiet Storm, a historical and cultural analysis of the power, passion, and pain of R&B groups. You can get it
Yes.
on any of your online retailers that you love to shop at.
I love that. And I hear your pup. Your pup likes the book too. I
Yes, he does. We're gonna get him out of here because he's just too big. Uh,
Oh, he's cute. Oh, he's
yes.
cute.
So we have a really, really unique and different guest for us today. Kind of fill us in on who we get to talk to today.
Well, we have a firecracker. I'm so excited. She's with us today. She's coming here live from New York, and she's a leader in our meetings industry. She's a champion and an advocate for women in hospitality, an extremely dynamic human. She is the senior vice president of global sales for Convene. Let's come to the stage, Phoenix Porcelli.
Yes, yes. Round of applause here. Round of applause.
I was raised by a single mom, and my name is Phoenix. My sister's name is Apollonia, and my baby brother's name is Dante. We went to school in Connecticut, so we stuck out. We were very unique in that setting. It's the only Phoenix, certainly in our community, and I really hated it. I wanted to be called Heather or Kelly and have a more traditional name. And now I think in high school, I really embrace the uniqueness of instead of wanting to be one of many, I embrace being one of one. And it was a really amazing experience. I actually wrote my college essay and application around the phoenix bird and rising from the ashes. And I keep it in mind every day of rebirth, and no matter how tough things get, there's a new day rising from the ashes, inspirational. So I think I love my name and definitely something to think about. My sister is about to have her third baby, so we're deep in the throes of like, what does an Apollonia name their third child? So we go a lot
Mm.
about family names and this culture. So thank you for asking. Rebirth,
Yeah.
phoenix from the ashes. Nothing is ever as bad as we think it is, right?
No,
Oh, that's
yeah, love
beautiful.
that. That's an interesting name for your sister too, Apollonia. Is that from? Is that? Well, I'm thinking it's from Prince. Is that from Prince?
Similar, it's the female version of Apollo. It was my mother's first daughter, first baby, rising the sun across the sky. And then I am named after the phoenix bird, Rebirth. I was
Yeah.
a twin. Unfortunately, my twin passed. So from the ashes and
Oh,
sadness rose a newborn baby. So something I think
okay.
about every day.
Oh.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Wow.
You
Okay.
have a unique name as well, Amani. I love your name.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
Mandy.
Mine's not that unique.
That's
Yes.
beautiful nonetheless.
Yes. Yes. Take it away, Mandy. Where should we begin?
Well, I have a question, but now you just sparked something else. I wanna hear about your mom. Like, this unique human, what should we know
Yes.
about your mom? Like, what is the biggest life lesson you got from her growing up? It sounds like she's a fascinating woman.
She is extraordinary. I'm sure myself, like so many of y'all's listeners, are going through this journey of embracing your parents as people, understanding, their flaws, and as they age, supporting them in a different way, and the shift in that relationship. But my mother, I'm first generation. My mom's Sicilian, and she did an extraordinary job. 3 kids in 30 months, so all of our working moms out there, power to you. I don't know how my mom did it, having 3 kids in diapers, but she instilled this work ethic and this confidence in us, in this, like, you could do anything you want, right? Like there the world, like, be whoever you want, work hard. She was a nurse practitioner that just worked her butt off. She worked as a daytime as a school nurse to have the summers off with us, and then she worked per diem as a visiting nurse after school, and instilled this profound appreciation for hard work in our family and my siblings, and led by example in all of the amazing things she accomplished, and was extraordinary woman. I feel so grateful to have her as a role model in my life. And I think of this like coven of women who raised me, my sister, my aunts, my cousins. I have 67 first
Ooh.
cousins, which is crazy.
Wow.
They big Sicilian family, and have been fortunate enough to have some really extraordinary female role models, mentors, advocates, and folks in my life that, my board of directors is largely female. In my personal life, I'm very grateful for their leadership and support.
So thank you for sharing. I knew your mom had a great story with all those great names.
Yeah.
But while we're here, that transitions into something I wanted to talk about, which is leadership. And you were a young leader when you first came into the game. I was a young leader. I had my very first director role under the age of 30, where I managed people that were older and more experienced than me. And it was a really hard adjustment for me to find my leadership voice. And I've known you for, many years now where
Almost a decade, yeah.
a more almost, yeah, more than a decade where I look at you as a natural leader and you took the reins at an earlier age than most of your peers and the most of the leaders in the industry. So, what advice do you have for young leaders that find themselves in leadership roles earlier than expected?
Or great question. I would say I really have three pieces of advice for young leaders. And the first is listen. I think it's so easy to receive the validation by your organization, by your community. This praise, promotion is extremely validating, right? You're like, oh yes, I'm appreciated, people get it, I'm advancing. And it's so much more important to listen than to talk. And I think that's something now, as a leader, of as my teams have gotten larger, how important, how much less important my voice is, or the importance of your voice in a room really shifts. And it's so amazing to hear from other folks and to feel like you're soliciting feedback, and how empowering that is for other people, for you to be in a meeting and to ask someone like, oh, I'd like to hear from this person, we haven't heard from you yet. So my first piece of advice for young leaders is to listen more than you talk. I used to
Mhm.
have a little sticker on my computer that said like, ST, to like as a reminder to put, and a good tip for myself is I always put myself on mute in a call when I'm not speaking, so that it is a conscious choice to take myself off mute to speak, and to make it a really deliberate choice to participate in a conversation versus listening first. So, as a young leader, the importance of listening. And when folks share feedback with you, my first leadership role was actually leading a housekeeping team at the Waldorf Astoria. And when they would escalate feedback to me, like, this chair is broken, I can't get these supplies, it was to fix their problems and then to show them you fix their problems and to remind them. And it like reiterates this importance of feedback and this feedback loop. So listen. My next piece of advice as a young leader is something I think we're all more aware of, but to be cognizant of this imposter syndrome around, like, where you're soliciting feedback, when you're soliciting feedback, and how that's supporting your decision making process, and being cognizant of your own kind of self awareness, and to think about, your place in the room. Has someone already said what you want to say? Is this the right time for you to speak up versus speaking up to be heard or to feel like you have a place, or this gravitas of your role? And my last piece of advice for young leaders is to hire for your weaknesses and to build this team, build your own support network as much as you can to develop folks, and to be highly aware of yourself. And hiring for your weaknesses requires you to have this emotional intelligence of, okay, I'm really terrible for me, organization, like administrative. I'm deeply committed to process, but I'm the worst maintainer of it. And so hiring folks around me that are committed to that, keeping the train on the tracks, and that component of it made me a more effective leader and allowed me to be emotionally intelligent enough to recognize where my shortcomings were and to bring folks into my orbit to help me do that. So, my three pieces of advice for young leaders are to listen first, and to be very aware of your weaknesses, your shortcomings, and this imposter syndrome of like, do I have the right to be here? Like, should I say something? Is now the right time? Like, oh, if I could just weigh in here, and how those language choices impact how others perceive you and your success inevitably. And then the third piece is to hire for your weaknesses and to know where you're never, no matter the amount of training, support, you're never going to get there if you're not organized, or you're not great at public speaking or, whatever your weaknesses may be, just to hire for them. Don't try to be
Beautiful.
all things.
That was a snippet of a master class. I'm sure
Mm,
we're gonna clip that.
Yeah.
That was really good. Now, I wanna take a really hard left turn here and talk about Convene. So, for
My favorite
those
topic.
yeah, your favorite topic. So those that are listening or those that are watching, what is Convene and why should the meetings world care about it?
Absolutely. Convene is a global hospitality company. We design and manage premium meeting event and flexible workplaces throughout the US and the United Kingdom. We have 38 locations in 9 cities. So we provide an alternative to traditional hotel meeting and event space, conference spaces, corporate social gathering spaces, as well as flexible real estate solutions. And why our industry should care about Convene is a true disruptor when it comes to meetings and events and has innovated one of the best in class products for meetings and events since I can't even recall. Maybe Cvent is probably, I would say, another industry disruptor. And what makes Convene special is that we reverse engineered a solution for meeting and event planners. So unlike hotel meeting and event spaces that invariably is kind of like the least impactful real estate or the worst rooms in a venue or kind of where you put meetings and events, Convene organized focus groups and listened to meeting and event planners and reverse engineered what I would consider as the best in class product today.
Awesome. And I know like getting clients I have all my clients, they all want a standalone or they want an alternate venue right now. That's the big question they ask. But then they're also so accustomed to sourcing hotels and everything under one roof. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a place and a
Sure.
space for all of these things. But since people are so conditioned to sourcing hotels with meeting space, what questions should meeting planners be asking right now that they might not be thinking about when they're looking at an alternate space or a standalone venue like Convene?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I would say there's two pieces that I think are particularly important when sourcing, and that's not exclusive to non-resi venues or non-traditional meeting and event venues, but I think it's really important to think about production and event technology. Things like power, load in, freight, rigging, shadow labor, depending on the type of venue you are producing your event at. But in this attention economy, the event production component of your programming is more important than ever to create a lasting impression between the brand. Even something, like a book launch, how are you going to get your items there? How are you going to get your people in there? What does the arrival experience look like? Security is obviously an incredibly important part of meetings and events that I think is part of that non-resi meeting and event sourcing piece of finding the right space. What's the security experience like between protesting, between some of the horrific incidents we've seen in events transpiring this year? How are your VIPs, your speakers going to get in and ensuring a safe experience for them? So, thinking about the movement of goods and people into that space, I would say is the number one piece that I would ensure you're diligencing when sourcing a meeting or event venue. And then two, I would think about, from a budget and financial perspective, what is provided by the venue and what is something again that you're going to need to source externally or bring in yourself. So I think one of the benefits of unique venues is that you can do a lot more than maybe in a traditional hotel or a traditional conferencing space. But just think about how that will impact your budget if you are paying an ancillary fee to the venue to bring in an outside provider, if there's additional costs associated with that, as far as like bringing those components in and how that's going to impact your budget and your bottom line. So I would ask a lot of questions around freight, any sort of like HVAC fees, any sort of like overtime fees for the teams, folks that are helping support, loading in, loading out, event technology, and then the costs associated with that. Because I think sometimes that can really add up if you are using a unique or a standalone venue. This white box experience is amazing, but at certain venues, it can certainly come with an additional cost. I think Convene provides a great alternative for that in what we provide as part of our services. So we try to anticipate all of that through our product engineering, but it's certainly something to think about when starting the process and sourcing a non-hotel venue if you've never sourced one previously.
Okay, Monty, I promise last question and then I'll zip it. I'll zip it. Okay, like
It's like
I
biting
promise.
at the bit here. Go
Yeah,
ahead, man.
I know. Okay, you made a choice as a company to do one price per person, which for the most part, I know there's some add-ons for AV but for the most part, what makes it really awesome about booking a convene is that you try and make as many things as possible at one price per person with the technology and the rental and the food and beverage and the facility and everything. What went into that decision and how has that been received over the years? I know how I've received it, how my clients received it, but I'm just curious from your perspective.
Yeah, great question, Mandy. So the delegate daily rate is something that is a bit more typical in Europe or across the pond and less traditional in the United States. Convene made an intentional business decision when we first, over 15 years ago, started in the corporate meeting and events industry because of that feedback from meeting and event planners around the absorbent costs of technology, outside catering, and the venue fees. We have, and that's something that's certainly innate to our Convene product and through the acquisition of ETC venues as well. We can certainly build an a la carte model and kind of decouple those components that are included in that per person per day price. But the inception why we did it this way was to be anticipatory and to make our planners' lives easier, better through our product being inclusive of different components that are required in a meeting and event. So a lot of that was intentionally engineered in an effort to be anticipatory. And it's something that now, because of the customization and the enhancements and the personalization that we're seeing as a trend in the meetings and events world, we are certainly revisiting what that looks like. And I think as Convene opens new and different products, bigger spaces, different types of venues, and grows in different ways, it's something that we are certainly revisiting and thinking a lot differently about. So the product evolution and engineering is something that is so innately tied to commercial. It's been a really interesting and exciting process. I drive our head of product, James, crazy. I feel like we have this like sibling dynamic of like this push and pull, which is really exciting to be involved with. And I feel grateful to work for a company that listens so intently to what their clients feel and think and want and reverse engineers products to meet our clients where they're at.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going on mute,
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
Amani.
little
I'm
bit
gonna go
about
on
our
mute.
DDRs.
I'm gonna be like Phoenix and put myself on mute.
Okay, okay, there's the button right there. Thank you. No, just kidding. um, so Phoenix, we have something in common that might surprise you. We both were part
Okay,
of NSMH, National Society of Minorities in Hospitality. You were part of it in college, and I was part of it in college and on the national board in the late 90s.
amazing.
How did your participation in that specific organization help you throughout your career?
Excellent question. It provided me a different lens and perspective to see the world. And if I could say the number one piece of that it shared with me was a level of empathy in investing in understanding experiences that are different than my own. And so I guess two things. One, empathy, how important shared different perspectives are, how important role models are, and how important creating, and the second piece is largely around community, finding your people, finding your tribe, whatever that may be, and using them as a sounding board in your professional life, having them be there to support you and celebrate your successes, share your challenges, creating a forum in which, hey, I'm seeing this in my business. What are you seeing? Oh, I have this great internship opportunity, for example, in college. How is this impacting you? Do you know anyone that's worked here? Anyone in your tribe has good feedback? So I think clubs and communities are so important for us as individual contributors, as leaders, as entrepreneurs, as contractors throughout our career to find what that tribe looks like. And from an early age, NSMH provided me with the beginnings as I found my tribe through different communities that I participated in throughout my career. It taught me to be empathetic, better understand diversity of perspective, and also to realize the value of community and what that community looked like throughout my career has taken different forms. And my role in communities now is much different, right? But it taught me the importance of a tribe, your sounding board, your individual board of directors, your coven, whatever you call them, that helps you make personal and professional decisions.
Yeah, yeah. So for people who are listening or watching, NSMH stands for National Society of Minorities in Hospitality. It's basically groups of college students from schools, colleges that have hospitality programs across the country, whether it be Penn State, Howard University is where I was a member, Johnson and Wales. We had like Winston-Salem State, many universities, University of Indiana, I want to say, like just some of the biggest all the biggest hospitality schools. And then we'd have a conference, annual conference, and we had national board and then the local board members. So that means. My next question is,
And Boston University, you missed
yes,
the lovely
I'm sorry.
terriers that
Yes,
Boston
Boston
University was
University.
at.
Because I was thinking in my mind, Boston University, because you're called the Terriers, right? Aren't you called the Terriers?
Yeah,
Yes, the Terriers.
yeah.
I know my mascots.
The
Yes,
mighty terriers,
the
yes.
mighty Terriers. Yeah. I said Johnson and Wales, and I thought I said Boston right after that because located in the Northeast. My bad. Okay, so
No, no, no. Boston University, and again, like that decision making process from your early career and where you go and their participation in different groups and how that helps form you is just so interesting and in reflection, right? Around how all of these decisions helped you get where you're going. So Boston
yeah,
University and the decision to go to a university in a city was one that certainly shaped my career and helped me get the experiences that I've had today. So
yeah. We're gonna come back
shout
at
out
the
to
end.
be
Yeah, we're gonna come back at the end to Boston University. But in terms of Convene, I believe you said you have 35
Mhm.
locations domestically. 35.
we have 38 locations
Okay.
globally.
Okay.
Yep, and, 14 in the UK,
Okay.
so
So
24 here domestically.
how do you go about deciding what cities to add? Like, what are the next cities to add? What's the process for that? Because I have a city that I'm curious about.
Oh, I love this question, Amani. So
Giving
we
giving the real
have
estate
a
guy.
really robust I we have a very robust process around city identification, where we will grow and where we should expand to, or what existing markets we should expand, how many locations we're in, which, micro neighborhoods we should explore. Um, and we just recently worked with a team of consultants to help us kind of hone in that process to better understand the serviceable addressable market in each of the cities in which we currently transact, as well as the top 6 markets that were on our real estate pipeline. And our process is informed largely by 4 factors. The first is accessibility. Generally, Convene does the best in areas that are connected by like the central business district, the CBB, public transportation, and has a number of Fortune 1,000, let's call it, organizations that have corporate locations, corporate headquarters in. The next thing we look at is, where do our clients want us to be? So we have Convene's business is around 80% repeat business, which I think is a testament.
Mm.
We have the highest net promoter scores of any hospitality company, and are really proud of that, of our client satisfaction. So when our clients tell us to go somewhere, we largely listen and we solicit their feedback quite frequently. We have a client advisory board and we meet with them 3 times, 2 to 3 times a year to solicit their feedback and input. The next thing that we look at is relevant data from the CVBs, convention and visitor bureaus, as well as data from various aggregator or platforms, channel platforms like CVent, Venue Directory, and different publicly available data that we can look at. And then the fourth factor that we look at is real estate opportunities. We would love to be in Miami. Unfortunately, the real estate opportunities in Miami right now, it's a really tough time to open a Convene in Brickell or the neighborhoods that Convene would be largely successful in Miami. So if all of those factors are green lights and we get to the fourth factor and we can't find a location which Convene would be commercially viable, sometimes that prohibits us from entering a market. But so walk to me. Where are we going? Vegas? Are we going
Yeah,
Los
that's that.
Angeles? Are we going
So the first time I was at a Convene was in Los Angeles. I'm not sure if that location is still there, but then Vegas. I was really curious about Vegas, and as I hear you describe the requirements, maybe it kind of makes sense why Vegas might not be the best fit. But what are your thoughts on that city?
I feel very strongly about Vegas. I think Vegas is a city in which is largely underserved in what I would say medium for Vegas, right? They do conventions so well, their CVB is cranking, right? Like there's amazing shows, they've got extraordinary entertainment. They've done an extraordinary job of marketing the city of Vegas and attracting some extraordinary citywides from other markets.
Yeah.
And we love that for them. And I think they do a great job of looking after those big events. And then I think there is a lot of like restaurant PDRs and really great locations for up to like 50 or so attendees for some more intimate experiences. I think once you get into like that, like 500 to like 2000 ish, like let's call it like 300 to 1500, the market is largely underserved because all of
Mm.
the space is designed for kind of like the different ends of the spectrum. So I'm bullish on Convene Vegas. We've looked at a couple different opportunities, and I think it's getting the location right. And for us, it would be really a Tetrising game, right? Because the highs are really high and the lows are really low because you don't really have that like business travel, that captive audience that's doing regional events. It's so dependent on these citywide experiences, which ICWs, in conjunction with events would be great for Convene, but we would really be riding the waves of these large citywide conferences. So it's definitely on our top, I would call it on our top five right now, Amani. So
Wow.
you want to join the client advisory and be a real estate consultant for Caffeine, we're recruiting.
Okay.
We'd be lucky to have you.
Okay. So we'll talk after. Final question for back to you, man. And I'm thinking of my students now and how they used to only view working in hospitality coming out of school or going to a hotel and work. Very similar to your career, going to a hotel and working, or maybe you go to a restaurant, maybe an amusement park, because I teach really close to Disneyland. Um,
Yes.
how do you pitch coming to Convene as a different option for a college graduate or a young professional in the hospitality industry?
Excellent question, Amani. The first thing I pitch to recent grads is work life balance and Convene's culture. So because Convene's business is largely corporate events and is generally Monday through Friday-ish business, it provides great work-life balance for new hospitality grads. So find me on LinkedIn, call me, beat me if you want to reach me. If you're not interested in working Saturdays, Sundays, my first job at the Waldorf Astoria in hospitality when I moved back to the US from Paris was at the overnight shift at the front desk
Oof.
of the Waldorf Astoria, and I would not recommend it for any 23-year-olds that is building their social network in a new city that they've never lived before. So the first thing I pitched is that Convene is not only an extraordinary place to work for a number of reasons, but the first is, do you want to work weekends? No? Okay. You found your place. And then the second piece that I really talk a lot about is culture. And while having worked for some of these extraordinary legacy hospitality institutions like Hilton, um, and have had many friends who have taken a route towards Hillstone restaurants, hotels, Convene is a disruptor. Convene is someone that is looking to evolve an industry that has not really evolved much since its inception, right? One of the first businesses in the world, innkeepers, and unfortunately, I don't think that that has evolved too significantly, in the past couple of decades. So Convene is trend setting and really pushing the envelope. So if you're interested in entrepreneurial, if you want to work with really young people that have big ideas that are created, that we have an extraordinary culture that creates communities around supporting that, advancing that. And I would say the last piece that I speak of when I talk about Convene is, the ability to grow your career and the number of infinite growth opportunities across any different department that you could be passionate about. If you're interested in real estate, we've got a great team that's assessing the market viability of Vegas at the moment. If you are interested in operations, you can grow from a service technician to a general manager and build your career with a community of like-minded folks that are want to do good work and want to work at a cool place that cares about them as people. And I have been so fortunate enough. I tell my mentees, like, I wish that everybody finds a place like Convene, like a home that supports you as your authentic
Mhm.
self, and you can be who you want to be there, and creates an environment that supports being your authentic self, where you can build a career and creates the professional development opportunities to do that. Like continuing education to be sponsored by a corporate institution is so rare that people will be like, "Oh, you want to cross train and, our finance team? Come on over. Oh, you want to learn more about, operations or corporate technology or infrastructure? Amazing! Like, come join our AV team." So I think Convene has provided a really unique opportunity to do that for me, and I feel so proud of our ability to do that for others that start their career. So those are the 3 factors that I would advocate for folks that are considering where to go first, how to build your career. Figure out, 1, what you wanna be when you grow up, and find a place that can help you get there, whether it's learnings or earnings, or preferably both. But to find a place that really supports that work-life balance that you want in your world, which for so long we've been told doesn't exist in the hospitality industry. But it does. I promise it does. And then to find the right culture that fits and that you vibe with, that can support you to be who you are, but also be your best professional self. And then the third, that supports your continuing education and your advancement and challenges you to think differently about things.
Well done. Back to you, Mandy.
Amani, I feel like there's some synergy between your graduating classes and Phoenix's recruitment situation. I feel like
Yes, bring
something
them
might be
over. Bring them
brewing
over.
there with
Yeah.
Professor Amani. Yeah, that's good to know. It's good to know. I think that's important though,
Yes.
because Amani always talks about how a lot of his students are the first generation to go to college,
Mhm.
and hospitality has looked different for their families, and now they're looking at hospitality differently because of the opportunities ahead of them. So I just think it's good for them to see this other way of doing business in the world. I love that. Well, I want to hang here because we talked a little bit about hotels. You talked a little about your real estate team. We're in a space right now in the hospitality world where everybody's changing management, everybody's changing ownership. It's happening at a rapid fire pace. And so many times, at least in my experience, when one hotel company takes over for another hotel company, they put minimal capital into the improvement and they just change a flag. And I feel like your real estate team has an interesting approach to capital and investing in the property once you take it over. So I wondered if you could just share that and share how it might be different than other spots, or even how hotels do it when they take over a new build.
Yes, and I love talking about that. I think I just want to touch first on this, Amani. I'm not sure if you feel this way or your students feel this way, but so largely it felt like hospitality was like the service staff. It was like this industry that was not thought highly of. It was not thought as like our best and our brightest in, education, advancement, and having these collegiate programs that are really focused on hospitality training in this intersection of almost I call it marketing and finance or marketing and business because it really does take like the people that have these extroverted, effervescent personalities, but also are passionate about, lots of different types of business administration or management or leadership, and provides you the ability to do both. So I'm so grateful for our professors, our educational institutions that have committed to hospitality as like a degree outside of Europe, and I think that that's so important for us culturally. Like, this is not like a, back of house career. Like, this is some place where you can really build an extraordinary, prolific career and experience so many different types of this industry. So, I just want to say that important piece because I think it's almost was looked down on for so long. And I really appreciate that so many of us are changing the narrative about that. But to
That's
touch base
cool.
on CapEx investment in real estate, I love talking about this. One piece that makes Convene really different, which I would be remiss not to mention, is that we facilitate all of our own technology within our venue. So AV production services is something Convene builds within our demises and maintains, which changes the conversation around CapEx because we all know how quickly technology moves. And it's something that we recognize was so important for our clients to ensure consistency of experience, and that we felt, again, remiss to say, come, trust us with your most important events and programming, but go talk to these other people about AV production. And if
Mm,
something goes wrong, it's not our fault.
mm,
And for Convene to put our name on something, we wanted to ensure consistency in the experience from contracting, from sales, event delivery on site, food and beverage, audiovisual, as well as, reconciliation financially of the event after the fact. So I do want to mention that one as something that makes Convene really different and special and amazing, but also makes CapEx investment something that we have to plan for and think about and underwrite for as we're building and designing our spaces. So we really pride ourselves. Convene has an extraordinary design team that conceptualizes and uses local inspiration and local artists. We've got this extraordinary mural in Philly, this mosaic mural that's a local artist. All of our artwork in our London venues is local London based street artists. So we really pride ourselves in bringing local inspiration into our venues. And we have that ability because we build and design all of our own spaces. But we are on a rolling CapEx investment, and we intentionally, because again, we build and design our own spaces, we select materials that are meant for high wear versus, some other commercial institutions or spaces, even schools. If you try to identify like residential paint or, residential tapestry or wall fixtures, it won't withstand the use of a commercial setting. And so I think that's also important to identify with Convene is we plan for this, we anticipate it, we build our spaces with the use case in mind, and then we build and anticipate that rolling renovation scheduling in our venues and are constantly, again, listening to client feedback. I just came from our venue at 237 Park Avenue, and we just installed this amazing LED wall because clients, there's a pillar in the room. We were getting feedback from clients. The venue opened in 2016. And we're like, okay, we've got our CapEx investment that we've got this. How can we make this technology better and increase the visual experience in the room for attendees so that they have this magnificent LED wall instead of screens and projectors? So it's something that can mean plans for, anticipates, we underwrite for, and we do FF&E, so like space, fixtures, furniture, and equipment renovation on a rolling schedule of 2 to 5 years, and then technology on the off cycle in that same rolling 2 to 5 years. So I know it's the hotel flagging and management game is one that is constantly evolving, and there's some really amazing companies that are doing hotel management, but having worked at the Waldorf Astoria for a really long time and done site tours where I've like stood in front of an active leak behind me. It's like, don't look over here. Just look at this lovely space over here. It can certainly be a tough situation when you and your clients and you recognize you really need a bit of a renovation and a refresh in a space. And we're deeply committed to that.
Awesome. Great info.
Now we've come to the point in the show where we flip the script, Phoenix, and we allow you to ask both myself and
Oh,
Mandy any question you would like. So, which question? Well, first of all, who do you want to ask the question to first, and what is said question?
I have two questions and dealer's choice how y'all want to manage them amongst each other. So I want to hear, what is the best use of AI that you've seen in business or in the events world? Question number one. And then question number two is the T tariff question that I feel like is plaguing our existence. Maybe this may be better for Mandy, but as we think about the events industry in general, hospitality industry, what do you think, having all of us collectively been in different roles in hospitality through pandemics and recessions? What does your crystal ball say around the recent tariffs that have been announced and its impact on the hospitality and meetings and events industry? So those are my two questions. AI, tariffs, what do y'all think?
Dealer's choice.
Your choice.
Amani, do you want to take AI? I feel like you're closer to it with your students, but I'm happy to take it too, whatever you want. I'm happy to
Yeah,
talk about tariffs too.
why don't you talk about tariffs first, and let me contemplate my response to the AI.
Yeah. So I
Outside of
think
student papers, I've heard that's a tough question with AI grading. Go ahead, Mandy.
I think speculation is really a dirty word, and it's a dirtier action. And I think speculation causes a lot of fear. And we
Sure.
know what's happening right now, right? How long will it happen? We don't know. There's a lot of predictions out there, but I what I'm feeling and hearing right now is more speculation than action. Yes, there have been some layoffs in the tech industry, which has been causing some cancellations or causing some numbers to be lower in registration. But from where I sit today on April 7th, I haven't
Timestamp.
I haven't felt this drastic move of the needle yet. I have heard a lot, right? I have heard a lot of complaining, a lot of predictions, a lot of fear, so much fear. But from where I sit right now, there's a lot of business out there. Also, from being in this business in 1999 and 2001 and 2008 and 2020 and today, what I also know to be true is disaster selling is a thing. For what goes up must come down. So everything that dips right now, there is some equal business that is out there that benefits from this time frame. So I would really encourage salespeople to go out there and find what those businesses are. I would also encourage salespeople out there to go have conversations right now with your customers to say, how is your business faring through all of this? What are you worried about? What are people talking about? So you can have a proactive conversation about their meetings. So you're not booking a meeting for 500 people that predictively might be 250, right? Like, let's have those conversations with our clients now. So we're proactive instead of reactive. Let's find the business that does well during this. And then let's stay in touch with our customers because some customers will get laid off, but that doesn't mean they're never going to be your customer again. So have the cell phone number of your customer, have their Instagram handle, their LinkedIn handle. Make sure you have a way to get in touch. So when they do get that next job, you can still service them and help them, but also be of value to them, right? Just as much as those companies are dipping, there's those ones that are climbing and they might be hiring. So why not help your out of work customer get a job at this other company? I think I feel, and this might be Pollyanna of me, or maybe I'm just old and I've just seen these things go up and down, is I think there's a lot more opportunity there than we are allowing ourselves to think right now. I think this is a scary time for all of us. I think there's a lot of things crashing. I don't think this is going to last forever. And I think we have to just be proactive and keep conversations open with our customers. And I think so that's, me with customers. If I were a hotel or venue right now, I would forecast some change, right? Like I would forecast, hey, numbers might be dipping. What does that look like for us operationally? What does that look like for us staffing? What conversations can we have with customers about their food and beverage needs? Do they need to eat 3 times a day? Should they eat 2 times a day? Should they have more protein at breakfast so they stay full longer? Does that mean a little less revenue for us? Yes. But does that mean more sustainable business longer term? More events? Sure. So I think there's some both sides of actions that we could take. And I just think we just have to be wise about speculation versus actual like action that's happening. It's really easy for a company to make a decision based on fear versus makes
Mhm.
based on a decision of a really healthy company that's doing well. And it's great to be cautious, it's good to be smart, but I don't like to see companies making decisions based on the fear of what could happen when what is happening is okay. It's not awesome, but it's better than what we're talking about. I know that's probably not a popular opinion, but that's how I feel today on April 7th.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
great
go
answer.
from that to AI. So, AI is a sticky, sticky situation, particularly in education and music industry, which is kind of two of the main areas I focused on. And I think the best uses I've seen are when it's used to supplement creativity, not replace creativity, but to supplement creativity or to help come up with a solution. For example, I've seen some students work on a project, and just a real quick example, like a big issue in the music industry is properly um, properly attributing the individual artist to specific songs. Blockchain is a really good solution. So I've seen
Mm.
um, some people say, how can we use blockchain to help solve this issue? What ideas? And then be based on what we've entered in the prompts we entered in the past between AI, has come up with some pretty interesting solutions. So I think as a yeah, as a let's say an assistant, so to speak, it kind of works. But when it comes to writing the papers, I mean, it's so funny now. Like students, if you want to use AI to write papers or do stuff, I mean, we can tell there's different little apps we can tell to see
Yeah.
that. But when it comes to like presenting, you can't use AI when you're presenting in front of a group. Like, and that's where I'm going to really grade you the hardest on and offer
Mm.
you the most room for growth is when you are presenting in front of a group. And so AI is not going to save you then. You need to kind of figure that out and be able to talk and present. So that's my thoughts right there. Mandy's having a few little issues with her sound. But yeah, so that's my thoughts. Now,
I love that. Yeah.
I have a follow-up question for you. So the follow-up is Mandy, still no sound? No sound. Okay, so the follow-up is for you, if we're gonna go back to Boston University and talk to
Yes.
Phoenix just as she's graduating, give her advice based on everything you've learned so far. What advice would you give your younger self based on everything you've learned?
More fun.
Oh, tell us more about that.
So I think that when you're ambitious and motivated and know what you want to do and what you want to do when you grow up, it's so easy to be really focused on advancement, what's next, your professional career. And I wish I had had more fun along the way. And so I think that would be my first piece of advice now, looking back on my youth, looking back on my early career.
Mhm.
I spent so much time worrying around, what's going to happen, my advancement. And I wish I'd spent more time enjoying the moments that I was in and the experiences I was in and being present versus thinking and worrying about the future, which is a safe place to say now, having accomplished so much in my early career. So maybe it was some of that, being cognizant of it that pushed me, but I am hyper aware of my experiences, and I wish I had lived more in the moment when I was
Mm.
early in my career and planning events in Paris and being at the Waldorf and having these extraordinary transcendent, I read about some of the events we hosted at the Waldorf now in professional publications, and it's like I was there, but I wish I had remembered it and like
Mm.
been present. So I think my first piece of advice to my younger self would be have fun, live in the moment. It's not just about the destination. The journey is just as important.
Okay. All right.
And yeah, that would be my advice to my younger self.
Very good. Mandy, close us out.
Well, I want to know, you spent an hour with us, which we really appreciate, and you do so much to advocate and lift up your team and other people in the industry. How can we lift you up? How can we support you as you continue on your adventure?
Supporting Convene, getting the word out, hosting extraordinary events with us, recommending us to your clients, your friends, your next book release, your communities. Convene is a great place. Your students. Convene is an extraordinary place to build your career. It's a once in a lifetime place to host events. We're opening new locations in New York, in London, and San Francisco, and just throughout the world. So support Convene, um, and that would be my recommendation on how to help us is helping my amazing team and all of these extraordinary folks that bring the best events in the world to life within our venues every day.
Oh, can we talk about Hudson Yards really quick? What's the
Oh, yes.
update on the Hudson Yards venue? This is going to be really spectacular. What's the update and when is it opening? Tell
Yes.
us about it.
The update is Convene 30 Hudson Yards is opening, soft opening mid-July. Official opening is early September. Join us. Official invite September 10th will be an opening party for the books. The space can accommodate just shy of 800 attendees in the main session space on the 23rd floor of 30 Hudson Yards. Panoramic views from the Empire State Building to the Statue of Liberty and to Central Park. And it will be state of the art, extraordinary space in one of the best neighborhoods in the city. So Convene 30 Hudson Yards opening in a couple short months, and we can't wait to host our amazing clients there.
Awesome. Thank you. I feel in the know. Thank you.
You
So,
are, yes, you heard it here first.
yes. Well, we appreciate you spending over an hour of your time with us. So we
Yeah.
just want to continue to learn more about Convene and watch as you and the brand continues to grow. So, thanks for the update. We'll talk offline about that real estate item that we brought up too. So we'll talk about that. But just another round of applause for you being with us. And then we're going to put you in the green room really quickly and we'll be right back. So round of applause here for Phoenix.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Adventures in Business. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast on the platform that you're currently listening it on. And don't forget to share it with your friends and anybody that might be as much of the business nerds as Amani and I are. See you next time for another captivating interview.